Hello, today we're going to discuss Starling forces. This is the balance between osmotic pressure or osmotic forces and hydrostatic pressure or hydrostatic forces. So let's look at this mechanism. Starling forces. So Starling forces includes hydrostatic pressure and oncotic pressure. Oncotic pressure equals pressure. Oncotic pressure equals to colloid osmotic pressure, meaning that we can use the term oncotic pressure or we can use the term colloid pressure or osmotic pressure. It's pretty much the same thing. So let's discuss hydrostatic pressure. So the hydrostatic pressure is the pressure applied by water on the walls of the blood vessels. Intravascular pressure, right? Hydrostatic pressure. So what do we have in blood? We have formed elements, white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets. We have the plasma, which has white blood cells, that has nutrients, has waste, has a lot of different types of proteins, has a colloid, right? Has an albumin, for example. So let's use albumin as an example of the colloid. So hydrostatic pressure is the outward pressure, outward pressure. There's creating a pressure by the liquid on the walls, right? Expansion. So oncotic pressure or colloid osmotic pressure, it's the pull pressure. That's this one. So it creates the pull. So and pull of what, right? Water. Let's say these walls are semi-permeable membrane that can permit certain things to get in and out, but we're only discussing water right now, the movement of water. So this has an inward pull, inward, so it's pulling water inside. So what actually is trying to draw the water inside of the vessels? That osmotic pressure, osmosis. Water will go towards the highest gradient of a substance. So the osmotic pressure fights against the hydrostatic pressure, because here we're trying to push water out, here we're trying to pull water in. And this happens only where the water is able to move in or out. So that's the Starling forces, hydrostatic pressure versus osmotic pressure, colloid. In this case, the colloid, right, let's say that's albumin or albumin. But it could be any other substances. But in blood, that's what actually happens, that albumin creates that osmotic pressure or colloid pressure. It's trying to pull the water inside. So if we're going to lose albumin, right, so that can lead to a shift of where the water is going to move. So because let's say in interstitial space outside of the blood vessels and outside of the intracellular space, right, there's water here, water here, water here. So if for some reason there's low albumin, it's a substance, right, and there's going to be more of some other types of substances like proteins, for example, or any constituents. So the water will go towards highest concentration gradient. So there's going to be accumulation of water inside of the interstitial space that can lead to edema. So the Starling forces is just the difference between the hydrostatic pressure and this oncotic pressure or colloid osmotic pressure. So if you know the law of tonicity, the law of osmosis, and all of the other things that we discussed about the membrane transport, that should be fairly easy.